Hi, everybody. Welcome to our July The Good Book Club meeting. We are so excited. It's the middle of summer, so I know a lot of us are traveling, but we're excited that those of you that can make it today were able to make it. I'm going to start out by reading our mission statement really quickly. It says, the Good Book Club mission statement. The Good Book Club was created to bring together nuanced Mormons, post-Mormons, and others with a shared interest in Mormonism. We are introspective, critical thinkers seeking to learn, connect, and build relationships through the catalyst of literature. We welcome all who are searching for a safe space to share authentic thoughts, feelings, and ideas through open dialogue and shared experiences relative to Mormon culture. As we deconstruct previous beliefs, we encourage all to find happiness in the process of discovering new religious ideologies, spirituality, and life philosophy. And that has been our mission statement for years. And I think we do a pretty good job. Big change coming for our new season, which starts in September. This is our 25-26 season. We are, just based on feedback from people and the executive committee and all kinds of things, going to be starting at 10 a.m. Mountain Time every second Sunday instead of 11. And so you'll have to adjust, for Pacific and Central, but the people that we've gotten feedback from say this kind of fits in better with their schedule and leaves the afternoon more freed up. So I hope this will work for everybody, but starting in September, 10 a.m. Mountain Time, and we'll give you a reminder in August, which will still be at the 11 o'clock time. So big changes for the book club. There you go. And in addition to that, as I said, September is our new 25-26 season, and we have our new book list. And this is based, of course, on recommendations from all of you guys. We curated all of them and put them together. Tried to choose everything that had audio. We tried really hard. So if you want to take a picture of the screen right here, or Bruce, just put the list into the chat and you can go ahead and copy that. But we have lots of amazing books. The first one to probably just be aware of is September, if you'd like to get started on that. And that is Dictates of Conscience by the amazing Laura Lee Hall, and she will be joining us. So go ahead and copy that out of the chat. Take a picture, a screenshot. I will also be emailing this to everybody and posting it on Facebook, of course, and on Instagram. Of course, what we need are discussion leaders for any of these months. So if any of these books grab you, you guys are willing to go out on a limb and do it. You all do such a wonderful job. You can sign up right now in the chat. You can text me. You can message me. You can email me. You can put it on Facebook. But we are gathering our discussion leaders for these books for the coming season. So I'm excited. I'm really excited by this list. I think it's going to be great. Let's move on to our next slide. Perfect. Okay, a few just really quick upcoming events as we get rolling here. I want to make sure everybody's aware of other reading opportunities. These are authors that are members of the book club, which is really fun. We have Ganesh Sherian, who has written Joseph Smith, The Architect of Mormonism, a topical biography. This book is getting incredible reviews. It's not one of our book club actual books this year, but we might possibly have a little bonus meeting or something where we talk to Ganesh, but this is amazing. Also, our friend Lila Tuller has curated stories of religious abuse and survival in a book called Shattered Trust. I think even some people who are members of the book club have submitted stories and experiences to her. This is available for pre-order, and Bruce is going to put the link in the chat. I'll also be emailing that and posting that around, but she's done an amazing job of curating these stories of these experiences, Shattered Trust When Religion Causes Harm. So everybody look for that. Lila's awesome. We want to remind everybody, Sunstone is coming up Thursday the 31st. If you are in the area, it is free. The lecture that kicks off Sunstone is on Thursday night. It's going to be at the University of Utah, and it's John Turner, who is the author of one of our books, the Joseph Smith biography that just came out that we're going to be reading for the next season. So that doesn't cost you anything, and it's Thursday night, July 31st at 7 p.m. You can just pop in and see that if you're in the Salt Lake area. So it's going to be fun. The rest of Sunstone, you can go to sunstonesymposium.org, I think it is, and you can sign up individual lectures or the whole 2 days or 1 day. There's all kinds of different opportunities. And that's at the University of Utah that last weekend, first weekend. Our next book for August, our final book for the 2024-2025 season is We Have No Idea, A Guide to the Unknown Universe. And Yvonne is going to be our discussion leader. She's going to give us a preview right now because she can't be with us at the end of the the meeting because she's going to be driving like a lot of us. So go ahead, Yvonne. Tell us what we have in store here.
You're muted, Yvonne.
Yeah, this is my copy, which I have the purple one on my ebook, and I ordered a physical copy. This is for the British edition. That's why it has a different color. But anyway, I hope that this is a fun read. It certainly was for me, and I wanted something lighter. I just loved this book when I read it. It's so funny, and I thought, why couldn't I have had this as a physics textbook when I was in high school or even junior high? Because it's really accessible. And one of the guys, they're both like astrophysicists and lots of degrees and whatnot. And by the way, making physics fun, that's my very, very lame attempt at humor. But they have it's really funny. The cart and I would have to say that if you um, listen to it, you're going to miss all of their ridiculous cartoon illustrations that are a large part of the text. But if you just read a chapter or two, this is one of those things that you don't need to read it from front to back. You can open up a chapter that interests you. It's basically, but it really is quite an education on where we are right now in what we understand about the whole known universe. And it does spark curiosity and wonder. And some of the questions that I'll be asking, because of course most of the sections end with, we really have no idea what all these things are. And so we talk about like dark matter, for example, at the first, and what it really is, we don't know. So some of my questions I'm going to ask for the book club is dark matter God? And then we talk about dark energy, and we could ask, is dark energy God? Is what's going on? Is gravity God? Because we really don't understand gravity at all. It's kind of it's a wonderful, fun, and I hope we can have fun of it and have more. It's kind of more of a light read. So happy summer reading.
Yeah, no, I'm so excited. And I remember, I think it was 2 years ago where we read a Neil deGrasse Tyson book, and we were all saying, oh, this is weird. I wonder if a science book will be okay for the book club. Will they be able to explore it through the lens of Mormonism? We had one of the more religious conversations we've ever had, because that's exactly it. These big ideas, and the reason that God was even invented anyway to answer these big questions. So I love it when we read science books through the lens of Mormonism. It brings up so much. And especially when we talk about, how we were all raised and what was explained to us. And it's so different and so much more expansive and so much more wonderful and magical. So I'm really excited. Yep, this is going to be good. And Yvonne's going to do a great job. So thank you. All right. That brings us to today. Here, I can hardly lift this book. This was quite the book and not on audio. I hope everybody made through. Bruce had a great idea, and he put it through Chat GPT and said, give me a summary. So I read part of that too. That was really helpful. But Luann is going to be our discussion leader, and we will just kick it off right now. Let's do it. Doubt.
Okay. Well, I have a few things to say before I really start. And the first one was, the book is hard. It's full of so much and so much minute detail and so many complex ideas. I have to admit I didn't understand it all, but I'm trying to make it an easy presentation. And anyway, I don't have 10 hours, so it will be a little bit easier to take. A disclaimer is that the words on the slides are Hecht's and Jennifer Hecht's or Google's. And another thing is on the slides at the beginning, I have a list of the doubters, the philosophers and thinkers who are mentioned in the chapter. I'm not going to read them, but I wanted to give the picture of how complex the book is. And also, a little later, I decided to start adding the different philosophies and movements and events that related to doubt. The questions, because I cover so little of the chapter, may not seem so relevant, but they're pulled from some thought by some philosopher in the chapter. And then the last thing is that in our group, We don't discuss politics, and doubt relates to both religion and to politics. So we could accidentally slip into politics, and if we do, I'm sure someone will remind us real fast to switch back to religion. So anyway, with that, we'll start with the book, Doubt, A History by Jennifer Michael Hecht. Doubt is a fundamental human experience. It is universal and an enduring aspect of human life, present across cultures and history. Doubt can be both destructive and creative, leading to skepticism, despair, and questioning, and also fostering progress, innovation, and deeper understanding. Doubt has played a crucial role in shaping science, philosophy, religion, and societal change throughout history. This book explores the history of doubt across the world and through different eras and traditions, illustrating its importance in the development of human thought. Thought can be a source of strength, encourage critical thinking, and personal growth. So next slide. The question in light of these is, what was your overall impression of the book? Bruce?
Yeah. Well, you know, I started doubting my religion when it excluded me as a gay person. And I had no concept that, there's a long history of doubters. Some of them killed, some of them exiled, some of them, treated very badly. But then as I started doubting my religion, I started seeing that, I was part of a much bigger group. And so, yeah, that whole concept, when I started doubting, it was very personal. It was just my little tiny world.
Yes, and that was one of her major goals, was to help you know where you fit in the grand scheme of things.
Jen,
Yvonne,
oh, you're muted.
you're muted.
I started it and thought, is this just going to be another overview of philosophers and philosophy from the Greeks through the Romans and so forth? But I really ended up really liking this book and thinking it's, I highlighted a lot of passages that I think I can go back and use. It to me, and maybe there has been a lot of them, but to me it was sort of really inspirational or revolutionary to look at history through the doubters. And there are heroes, right? The doubters throughout history are heroes that really came up with wonderful things. Some of them were burned at the stake, and some of them, suffered. But I just wanted to say I recommend this book. I liked it a lot.
Thank you. And Rebecca?
Yeah, I just found it ironic that we hear all the time, doubt your doubts, right? Which is such a way to shut down any kind of questions or any kind of critical thinking, just completely take it off the table. And this book is all about that. I think we all have the idea that to doubt is a bad thing. When you're raised in the church, you want to get over your doubts. You want to come to a place of certainty. And if you don't feel certain, you just say that you're certain as often as you can until you've kind of convinced yourself you are. But this book is a celebration of doubt and where doubt can lead us and the amazing things that can happen and the changes, on a huge level that can take place when we do doubt. So I was really happy to see doubt celebrated because it's always been a bad word, a negative word, something that you're trying to overcome. And now I welcome doubt, skepticism, critical thinking. I think we all on the other side of Mormonism or wherever we are got there because of some level of doubt. So I love it, a celebration of doubt. I'm excited for the discussion.
Thank you. Cameron?
Yeah, so part of me was really encouraged to learn about the history going back 2,600 years of skeptical thinkers and people deconstructing God and the supernatural and different things like that. I had no idea it was such a rich history. and that it's been around for so long. And that was really encouraging to me. On the flip side, and I haven't finished the book in full disclosure, so I'm not sure how it ends, but I'm discouraged too because I'm like, well, there's so much rich thinking for such a long period of time. How do we continue to cling to supernatural thinking in the 21st century? And I am like, okay, is there something now I'm thinking like, is there evolutionarily just something that pulls us into wanting to think about magical things and otherworldly things that we can't see and our biases? Are we just gonna, as humans, constantly go back there in spite of all the, wonderful thought that has really deconstructed those ideas? So I don't know. I'm looking forward to hearing the whole presentation because I'm looking forward to that part of the book as well.
And I don't know if we'll ever have a question to those questions.
Yeah.
That might fit in the next book next month. So anyway, thank you. So the author gives us an opportunity to explore our own level of doubt, perhaps aiding us in understanding some of the perceptives of the world's historians, philosophers, artists, and influencers. So we have a doubt survey that is in the very first part of the book, and it's kind of like, what label do I fit under? So Bruce is going to present the survey.
Yeah, and everybody click on it, and I'll give like 5 or 6 seconds warning, and we'll see the results for the 13 questions that are in the introduction. Okay. Okay, so I guess you can, the way it's structured is you answer all of them, and then we'll see the poll.
So after you answer the first 2, do you click something?
You just scroll down.
Oh, scroll. Thank you.
Yeah, so just, there's 13 questions in all. I don't know, in my book, I check them off and stuff. So now I'm realizing that I could have made these separate, but I made them all together. So
Yeah, for some reason I can't vote, so I'll just
oh,
you
hold
can
it.
probably guess what my vote would have been.
No, that's because I made you co-host. Let me.
Oh, okay. I was
Okay.
like,
Yeah, I'm revoking your co-host and
thank
Melissa.
you for revoking. Now I can vote.
I'm revoking, yeah, because I can't vote. Okay, so Melissa and Rebecca can vote, and then once we're done with this vote, I'll make you co-host again. That's to prevent if anybody has power outages or something, that we have a host that will continue the meeting. Okay, so we have one person who's completed 2. Okay, now yep. More people are completing the complete set. This is causing everybody to read their screens in detail, so.
Oh, we forgot a little thing. We were supposed to write down our answers on a piece of paper so that we knew where we stood. I don't know if we need to adjust for that or whether you'll just kind of have
I think once we show the result, I mean, this is kind of taking the temperature of the group.
Okay.
because I know where I landed, but I'm always not sure where everybody else landed. Okay, so we've had 11.
Yeah. If you have paper and pencil, you could write it down as we see the answers.
Or open your book. Mine is
Yes.
mine's all marked up, with my answers and my comments on it. Okay, so we've had 11 of 12 people.
X.
We're going to end okay, we have everybody. Let's end the poll. And now I'm going to share the results. Okay, so are you guys seeing the results?
Yes.
Okay, so first question, do you believe that a particular religious tradition holds accurate knowledge of the ultimate nature of reality and the purpose of human life? 11 out of 12 people said no. One was not sure. The next one, do you believe that some thinking being consciously made the universe? Half said no, and half are not sure. That's an interesting view into our group. Number 3, is there an identifiable force coursing through the universe, holding it together or uniting all life forms? 25% yes, 42% no, and 33% not sure. Number 4, could prayer be in any way effective? That is, do you believe that such a being or force, as posited above, could either ever be responsive to your thoughts or words? 1, yes. Oh, Landon's joining us. 67% no, and not sure. Okay, do you believe this being or force can think or speak? Nobody said yes. 67% said no, but 33% said not sure. Do you believe this being has a memory or can make plans? 1 said yes, 8%, 67 no, and 25% not sure. Does this force sometimes take human form? 0% said yes, 83% said no, and 17% said not sure. Do you believe that the thinking part or animating force of the human being continues to exist after the body died? 1% or 8% yes, 33 no, and 58 not sure. Do you believe that any part of the human being survives death elsewhere or here on Earth? 25% said yes. Let's see, where did mine popped up. Mine popped around a bit here. Okay, do you believe this being or force, number 5, can think or speak? No, and not sure. Do you believe this being has memory or can make plans? 8% yes, 67% no, 25% not sure. Does this force sometimes take human form? Most everybody said no or not sure. Do you believe that the thinking part or animating force of human being continues to exist after the body has died? 8% yes, 33% no, and 58% not sure. Do you believe that any part of the human being survives death elsewhere or here on Earth? 25% yes, 25% no, and 50% not sure. Do you believe that feelings about things should be admitted as evidence of establishing reality? 8% yes, 92% no. And do you believe that love and inner feelings of morality suggest that there is a world beyond that of biology, social patterns, and accident, i.e. realm of higher meaning? 25% said yes, 25% said no, 50% not sure. Do you believe the world is completely knowable by science? 67% yes, nobody said no, and 33% not sure. And the last one, if someone were to say the universe is nothing but an accidental pile of stuff jostling around with no rhyme or reason, and all life on Earth is but a tiny, utterly inconsequential speck, if nothing, and in a corner of space existing in a blink of an eye, never, never to be judged, noticed, or remembered, would you say, now that's going a bit far, that's a bit wrong-headed? And nobody said yes, 58% no, and not sure. So that's kind of where that's where we came up on that.
Okay, so this is I'm surprised by the results. She says that if you answer no to the first 7 questions, to all of them, you're a hardcore atheist and a certain variety of rationalist materialist. I don't think we were as a group. I think that we are not hardcore atheists. 2, if you said no to the first 7 and then had a few yes answers, you're still an atheist, but you may have what I call a pious relationship with the universe. And I think that applies to my feelings somewhat. And anyway, on page X is the quiz, and on page XI is a way to analyze your answers. So if you want to know where you stand, use that. We have a comment, Brooke.
Yeah, the thing that interests me about this survey, or what I don't like, I guess, is that they only give these 3 discrete options, right? Yes or no, or not sure. Well, I lean like mostly toward no, but it doesn't ask how much do I believe my no is actually true, right? Like, okay, I think it's probably no, but maybe I'm only 75% sure of that, you know? So I didn't choose not sure, I chose no. So it doesn't give you a spectrum where you can say your level of certainty.
Yes, thank you for that observation. I think maybe we're still not totally willing to give up on some of the beliefs we held most of our life, that we find some nuanced way to hold on to something. Bruce.
Yeah, the longer I'm away from the church and the more with this book club, I mean, next month we're completing our 5th year, and we've done a lot of science and biography of people who've left high demand religions and stuff. I move more towards being pretty hardcore atheist. But if when I die, there's a life after and stuff, and there's a God, I'm going, I'm happy with my life. Mormon Church says I'm terrible, but I'm happy with my life, and I'll be pleasantly surprised. But I really don't think it's going to happen, and I'm not basing my life's choices on that happening. So that's kind of where I'm at now. But, this is a long journey,
And we're only here for a short spec. So, yeah. Well, interesting. I did a lot of not sures, and I thought, okay, I'll be the only one that's not sure, and that wasn't true. So anyway, I think we're struggling through this together. So next slide. Okay, there are 7 areas of ideas or motivations or what you really want in your heart that were developed in the ancient world. And I think we can identify with many of them. And as we go through this, I'd like you to take note of what really speaks to you, what you identify with, and we'll have a little bit of a discussion after. So some of the people of the ancient world were grouped around their interest and beliefs were around science, materialism, and rationalism. Science is a systematic, organized approach to learning about the natural world through observation and experimentation. I think we all know that. Materialism is the philosopher's doctrine that nothing exists except matter and its movements and modifications. A little more complicated to me. And then rationalism, just a reminder of that definition, is a belief or theory that opinions and actions should be based on reason and knowledge rather than on religious belief or emotional response. Okay, some people were non-theistic transcendence programs. Anyway, that was what they were with. And that is perception and understanding found through secular means. Others, cosmopolitan relativism. It acknowledges the diversity of cultures and values and recognizes a shared humanity and a need for global cooperation. Some group their thoughts around graceful life philosophies, living with intention, resilience, personal growth, and well-being. Others base their beliefs and doubts on the moral rejection of injustice, opposing unfairness, wrongdoing, and denial of rights, rooted in our innate sense of morality and our desire for a just world. Some held philosophical skepticism, and this is a school of thought that questions the possibility of having certain knowledge of anything. And then there were the doubt of the believers, not necessarily a lack of faith, though. And this is a common experience of believers questioning truths that they have held dear. I think we can all identify with that. So, do any of you see projects there that you identify with and go, oh, that's the way I think, that's what I believe? Bruce?
Okay. I find real value in the first one, science, materialism, and rationalism, as a way to understand what's going on. But the graceful life philosophies, living with intention, resilience, personal growth, and well-being, I view that we've developed as very social creatures. And I find great joy and happiness in having community and helping others. You know, I'm helping a friend move tomorrow. She lost her house, 6 months in a short-term rental. Now she's moving to a more permanent place, and I'm helping her move tomorrow. That gives me great personal satisfaction and validation. So that graceful life philosophies, you know, resilience. I mean, you know, the prepper aspect of Mormonism, you know, when the pandemic happened, right as it was on the horizon, I went over to Smart and Final and I got toilet paper and paper towels and a 5-pound bag of beans and a 5-pound bag of rice, because that whole Mormon thing. And it was, you know, I used most of it during the pandemic. I made a lot of soup and stuff. So those two kind of resonate with me.
Thank you. For me, I am quite driven by cosmopolitan relativism. I have joined the Unitarian Universalist Church, and I go to church and hear those things preached. But I also feel it very deeply in my heart, and that is valuing diversity, accepting everyone as best we can, and wanting humanity to be kind and wanting the world to work in cooperation. Why not? Yeah, I feel that one strongly. And I also feel the moral rejection of injustice. I can't stand to see people hurting each other. And that happens a lot. So those, and I strive for the graceful life philosophies because I want a good life. So I identified with nearly all of those. And of course, there's the believers. Yeah, I went through that. Excuse me. Anyone else have a comment, for example, of their doubt journey and how that felt like a philosophical movement for you? Okay, we'll go on. Next slide, Melissa. Now, here's my
I
list.
think Gretchen has a comment right
Oh,
there.
I'm
She just
sorry, I
raised her
missed
hand. No,
that.
it popped up right when you were looking to your next slide. So,
And I would love to hear it. Gretchen? You're muted, Gretchen. So you need to start over.
There, am I on now?
You're on
Yes.
now. Yes.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, thanks. Yeah, so I'm just thinking about this. In my faith journey, I like really looking at those the first three. My training is as a scientist, and so I definitely had this rationalism, but it was like the separate part of my life was the very rationalist, materialist life, and then of course I had the believing side of my life, and then also when I went through, I was reading lots of things about transcendence and all this, secular way of learning things, this cosmopolitanism, so much that I had to keep expanding my definition of things in Mormonism to accept everything else. So much that I was like, well, everything has to be true. And I could do all sorts of mental gymnastics to allow everything to be true. And when finally my shelf broke, then it was like, well, and this is where I'm at now, is that, well, does that mean that nothing is true? And I don't know that I want to reject everything that I have believed over a lifetime of accrual of all of these things that I felt like everything is like, this makes sense and this makes sense and this makes sense if I look at it a certain way. So like answering that first survey, there were lots of not sure's, because there are lots of ways that I can say, well, if you, like someone was talking about gravity, right? Like, well, maybe if you think of gravity as God, for example, then maybe that would make it make sense. And so I don't want to reject everything out of hand. And I'm not, I feel like that would be an emptiness that I'm not sure that I want to embrace. But also, like, being completely atheistic, I don't have really any problem with that either. But my philosophy is uber expansive, and I don't know if that's the right thing either. But it's anyway, that's where I'm kind of playing in that area.
Thank you for sharing that with some good thought. Kendall? Kendall, you just spoke, and Melissa, it's your turn. No, I'm confused. It's Kendall.
Yeah.
Yeah, my turn?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so this was like one of the more salient parts for me, and I really liked, I forget where she said that, like, there's kind of a history of the word atheism, and it was like, it was the goal to find out how to do good for its own sake, not because of some supernatural pressure, and they couldn't think of a good way to say it, so they just labeled it atheism. I thought that was interesting. But she says, one does not use logic to counter chaos. Rather, one uses logic because logic itself is beauty, is truth. Plato offers the amazing idea that contemplation of the way things really are in itself is a process that can bring humanity to the only divinity there is. I thought that captured my quest in this faith journey really, really well. I just want what works. I just want what makes sense. Doing good makes sense. And I think logic is the best epistemology to arrive at those things. But the problem that I'm having with that is kind of what we've already touched on, and I think she touches on in the book, where all these religious practices, myth making and rituals, they really do have effective benefits. Like, you can't really have a lot of success organizing large numbers of people beyond, about 150, unless there's some sort of shared myth, and stronger communities, like worldwide communities, are built on stuff like that, which have enormous benefits to people. And so, I don't know, to me, it's kind of a tension of like, I want to do what's logical and right, but that has real limits. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. You and Plato would be friends. I love that quote. It was beautiful. Okay, Melissa, and you are muted, so be sure to unmute.
So for me, I really struggle to sit in doubt. Like when I was LDS, like I knew all the answers. I had, all the solutions. And so I really struggle to sit in the space of doubt where now I don't know any solutions, I don't have any answers. So I kind of just go off of what is provable, what is logical, what is scientific. And obviously there's a lot in this world that is not provable or logical or scientific. So then I can't sit in the doubt of unknowing. So I'm just very, very atheist where like, yeah, I can't see that there's any, you know, way that we have something that survives after us. I can't see, like, if I can't see it and I can't prove it, I'm not believing it. And so I still can't sit in doubt. And that's something I've been working with a therapist, because it's a very uncomfortable place for me to be. So I think that's probably why I'm so atheistic, is because I can't sit in unknowing.
Well, that answer sounded a lot like philosophical skepticism, just for looking at the list. Thank you for sharing it. Bruce?
Yeah, with Kendall's observation, we need community, we need structure. I mean, with our first or second book, Sapiens, I developed a better feeling why religion developed and what the beneficial part of it is. Leaving Mormonism, I found community other places, but it's not as readily available. And my view now is, people who need community and religion, the Unitarian Universalists, the Episcopalians, some of the liberal Christian sects, I think may be rational choices. In our last book, Being Mortal, they talked about his parents finding the village movement, and I'm part of that in Pasadena, and that's where I found my community, but it's very rare. It's only 300 communities across the country. So we need community, and that's what religion provides us. Realizing that it's all bullshit doesn't explain how we have full, rich lives. So that's just my comment.
Good observation. Cameron?
Yeah, just wanted to comment on Melissa's good comments. I find myself, even though it's been probably 12 years, I think, since I started like my faith crisis, but I find myself a lot of times just realizing that I'm very skeptical of like almost anything, like whether it's an organized institution, or I just got back from a trip to Boston with some of my family, and I'm questioning things the tour guides are telling us. I'm like, I just helped my daughter buy a car, and we went to a bunch of used car dealerships, and I was like skeptical of like almost everything that they're telling me. And so, and I think there's some healthy skepticism, and I definitely resonate with that, but I also don't want to be like so skeptical that I can't trust. But I feel like for a lot of us, maybe we feel like we got burned, by trusting so intensely in an organization and the master myths that they handed us and that we were taught from our childhood. And so I want to like transition from, I think the stage of faith that Brian McLaren would call this would be like perplexity. I want to continue to try and transition from perplexity into more harmony, which is that fourth stage. But I find myself really in the waters of the perplexity like most of the time, and maybe that's not a bad thing, because maybe that's just my personality. But I do find myself questioning a lot of like everything from all kinds of sources. So
Yes, the hardcore skeptics believed you should not believe anything. Zero. So yeah, it's a strange world out there. Bruce again.
Yeah. I've come to view things on a way to be kind of skeptical and judge things, is how much control is the organization wanting over your life? How much control is the organization wanting over your money? And then how much control over sex? And in general, how much does the leadership want to have sex with your wife and your daughters? Those are really quite universal red flags. And that's just the way I'm starting to view things, going like, okay, you're trying to tell me exactly what to do. No, You're wanting a lot of my money that I can't see where it goes without transparency. No. And, the whole sex thing, that's giant red flag. So that's just my comment.
Thank you. Thank you. And Melissa.
I actually think I fall more into science, materialism, and rationalism, but I'm a part of the atheist community of Tulsa, and our president is so philosophically skeptical. He's like, you can tell me that this chair isn't here, like, and I will question whether or not this chair is actually. I mean, he is so skeptical. Like he doesn't know that there's anything that you can know for sure. It's fascinating to have conversations with him because I've met people that are very much like that, and it's interesting to hear. I'm
Thank
definitely
you.
not that.
Thank you. I lost my belief in the Mormon God, and so considered myself atheist. But then my daughter strongly encouraged me to join Codependence Anonymous. And for one reason, the church teaches codependency. And our family system did too. And so I was caught between atheism and I got to find a higher power, or I can't do these steps, and I want to please my daughter and cooperate with her good intentions. And anyway, so I gravitated towards graceful life philosophies and just the fact that we want to be good. We are in a disaster area right now, not as hard as Kerr County, but pretty bad. And you can't get through the neighborhood because of all the people that have come to volunteer. And you see things being cleaned up so fast and so efficiently, and so many people giving so much. And to me, I want to believe there's something in the universe that drives that. I mean, it's heartwarming, it's beautiful. And I also see nature as, yes, it's destructive and awful sometimes, but it's beautiful and magnificent, and it adds so much to our lives. And anyway, I was contemplating these two things, the drive towards kindness and love and virtue and good things, and the majesty of nature, forget the destruction, and going, but it doesn't feel, it doesn't think, it doesn't know I exist. So it's not my higher power. And then I thought, well, wait a minute. These things meet in my mind, and my higher self is where they get ignited. So my idea of a higher power was the beauty of these things ignited in my mind. And that seems to work for me. And so anyway, and these when I was reading the book, there was a few sentences and quotations from Hegel, and that described that kind of thing. And I went, okay, I believe in Hegel, though I don't know a whole bunch about him. So anyway, it was kind of fun. Next slide, please. So we're starting into the chapters. Whatever happened to Zeus and Hera, that's the Greeks in 600 BCE. And this is the foundation. As I read through the book, I begin to see in a new and more profound way that these ancient philosophers really set the course of our thinking, and that they became very real influences hundreds and thousands of years past their lifetimes. And so I felt the need to get a stronger understanding of the foundation. And so I've put a little more emphasis on that. I have the names on the first paragraph of the movers and thinkers and philosophers, just for you to look at to get a scope of what Hecht is talking about. And the summary is that early humans relied heavily on myth and religion. Early thinkers, particularly in Greece, begin to question traditional beliefs and authorities. This conflicted with established authority, including religious and political structures and leaders, and thus created social tension. But these philosophies were also laying the groundwork for skeptical thought, and we've discussed how we're following that path too. Next slide. Anyway, so I wanted to look at some of these people who were foundational, and one of them is Democritus of Abdera, and he amazes me. Democritus wondered if people invented the gods because they were frightened and excited about phenomena in the sky, lightning, thunder, shooting stars, eclipses. He also saw people's sense of wonder at the movements in the heavens and the regularity of seasons. He hypothesized that there was a smallest thing that everything was made of, which combined with other smallest things to make different objects. This led to the belief that the universe could work in an orderly manner without the assistance from creator gods. He was the founder of atomism. And, you know, the atom has become so much of our scientific thinking in this time. And he was in 600 BC or something like that. Isn't that amazing? That just thrills me that a person can think like that and create so much in their mind. Next slide. Socrates. And Socrates explored and questioned everything about life, especially piety, materialism, hunger for power, and competition. These drives distracted people from devoting themselves to figuring out how to live for the good for its own sake. And I've heard someone mention that in the discussion. And that was the true reality. His hypothesis was called atheism. So back there, atheism was started. Next slide. Plato was a student of Socrates. And we also already know we have someone in our group that really heavily believes in Plato. He wanted truth, not just social happiness. And he was skeptical of the Greek pantheon. But he still had a complex sense of divinity in the universe, the divine soul, and a certainty that human beings need and ought to have a traditional local religion that they could believe in. Next slide. And Aristotle was the greatest student of Plato. Aristotle's empirical conception, let me try again. Aristotle's empirical conception of the universe championed rationalism. Aristotle called for reasons, proofs, and demonstration, and worked out the beginnings of whole disciplines from marine biology to logic, political science, ethics, and psychology. He believed that the forms and rites of religion should continue, and even if God did not know or love us, we ought to love God and pursue a virtuous life within a well-ordered society. Next slide. As philosophers presented ideas, people flocked to the different ideas and formed groups. And these groups still have a huge effect on us. One was the Cynics, and founded by Diogenes of Sinope, rejected all customs, including all social, political, and religious practices. Now, we have in the US a homeless problem, and a lot of it is people meeting just tragic things and being driven to the streets. But among them are some cynics. And just like the practices in the Greeks, they live without anything because that is where they think they'll find the true meaning of life. Another group was the Stoics, and they were engaged in realism and detachment, and were concerned with only what was within one's control. They applied the laws of nature to encourage right attitudes and right action. We read a book a couple of years ago about the Stoics, and it was an inspiring book. It was good. The Epicureans taught that pleasure is the ultimate good and the goal of life, but not in the way it's commonly understood. It instead was a life of moderation and tranquility, achieved through understanding nature, limiting desires, and cultivating friendships. The skeptics believed that nothing could be known because the opposite of every statement could be asserted with plausibility. Our senses and minds provide false and sometimes narrow information. We should attempt to have no opinions and affirm or deny nothing. In this world where so many believe so many things and all of them are contradictory and people believe them so much, it just leads one to believe, where can one find truth? Is proof findable? Don't know. Okay, so next slide. This is the next chapter, and it's called Smacking of the Temple, Doubt and Ancient Jews. And it has a small list of the movers and shakers. And then the summary is this. This is about Judea's history from the Jews being carried away to Babylon. They're codifying the laws to please God, and being returned to Judea to rebuild the temple by Cyrus the Great after his invasion of Babylon. The history continues through Greek rule after the death of Alexander the Great. The Jews prospered under the Greeks, and many accepted Greek culture. The pushback by the devout followers of Judaism culminated with Jacob Maccabee defeating the Greeks with the help of the Romans. The ideas of a just God of a rough world, which became central to the history of doubt, were explored in the book of Job and in Ecclesiastics. I read both of those books several times when I was a Mormon and never picked that up. Anyway, where was my mind? But anyway, here is, what are your thoughts regarding a just and holy God who allows his children to live in a rough and pain-filled world? Any thoughts about the feeling, experiencing pain people, and a universe that doesn't appear to have any feeling, any emotions, any compassion? Melissa.
I think that's how I ended up as an atheist, because, you know, when my kid came out to me, I could not comprehend a God. Like, if I love my kid this much and I could not imagine wanting my kid to live a life alone, then there's no way that a loving God would do that either. And so I think, you know, believing that there's a God who, you know, when we hear like these things that are happening in like her county where, oh, well, God's just testing them, or God's just trying them, or God's allowing these things to happen so they could be better. That just sounds so gross to me now. I'd much rather be in the atheist world where there isn't a God that's actually allowing this thing to happen to their kids, because I can't imagine allowing something like that happening to my kid, or being okay with that, or permitting it, because there's just so many better ways to learn. And so I just feel better not believing in a God that would allow this kind of stuff. That's where a lot of my atheism comes in, because I cannot accept a God that would do that.
Thank you for sharing that. Bruce?
Yeah, I ended up fairly atheist. But going back to the previous slide in our discussion, I find great value in Stoicism. I had lunch yesterday with a group of friends who are predominantly Jewish, many of them children of Holocaust survivors. And they're pretty agitated right now. Some are talking about leaving the country because of the increased anti-Semitism. And we were talking for 2 hours after lunch, and I'm going like, okay, Stoicism, you know, control what you can, and, you know, don't just fret over everything. So that helps me. But then the Epicurean thought, that's one of the things that I try to do, you know, moderate life, you know, excesses of pleasure and stuff is great, but it's all within balance and stuff. So the Stoicism and Epicureanism helps me figure out without a belief in God. And so that's kind of how I manage things. You know, I don't think God is sitting there going like, oh, you know, this part of Texas did something bad. I sent a flood and killed a bunch of kids. You know, that I don't think. But then that's preached. You know, different natural disasters, different religious figures say, oh, that happened because, you know, the gays were here, you know, and stuff like that. It's all that manipulation and control. So that's just my thought.
Yeah, that's in the Bible and the Book of Mormon. Gretchen.
Yeah, I read I read a short story once a long time ago by Ursula Le Guin, who I absolutely love, and in this story she posited there were some explorers that were out, exploring new worlds. It was a science fiction story, and spoiler, it turns out that this world that they were exploring and identifying had been created in the mind of some teenage boy. And so like the way the world was set up, like the only things that were fully formed was there was like this, like this nubile young women and basically a sex cult, that whatever. But then as the explorers found, what they thought was a lot more interesting was when they would talk to the old people, because they had started creating a mythology about their creation or whatever. And so it was like this young man had just like thought something up in his mind, and it had created an actual world. And so the people then who had come sprung out of the mind of God, started creating their mythology. And I really liked that, because like it seems, I mean, not that I think that that's true, it's just, whatever, the thought experiment. But when you look at like God in, whatever, all the things that are happening in our world, there's a long history of people positing that God is very capricious, and which is really the best explanation to say, if there is a God or gods, then he's very capricious. That, yes, we can find our keys, but we can't help people who are hurting, those types of things. And so just like that idea of I don't know, maybe there's God and he or she or it is kind of in and out of our lives. And sometimes, so I've had really good, beautiful spiritual experiences too, where I felt very seen and heard. And so I'm trying to figure out what that all kinds of means, but it certainly doesn't seem like it's anything that would be a constant, an individual, either all powerful, like this God can't be all powerful or can't be all good. I mean, there's just like these contradictions that this God that the Mormon God posits is not possible in what we see in the world.
So true, and thank you. Cameron?
Yeah, thanks. Just to add a little to the great comments that have been made so far, I think my wrestle with the problem of evil, the problem of suffering, and the idea of an all-powerful deity is what really caused me to lose belief in a literal all-powerful deity. And I went to a discussion earlier this year with a writer named Jonathan Rauch. He's a well-known writer. He's Jewish. He's gay. He's atheist. And he came down to Provo to the Compass Gallery, and Terrell Givens have been doing these little back and forth discussions that I've been attending most months this year, with authors and stuff. And it was an interesting discussion because I think Mormonism's answer to this problem of evil, problem of suffering, is, oh, well, God has to have agency. Agency is so important that God allows these things to happen, and that's Terrell Givens's answer, and Jonathan really pushed him on that question a little bit, and I thought it was really interesting. And he was talking about the Holocaust and some of the horrible things that you can even imagine. Like, how would an all-powerful God even allow any of that to happen? While at the same time that God is answering our prayers about how to find our keys, or all kinds of little meaningless things. And Terrell basically was just like, sorry, Jonathan, I don't have a good answer for you on that. That's probably a question that I don't feel like Mormonism really answers. And he was honest on that. And I was like, wow, that was nice to hear from Dr. Givens, because usually they're like faith promoting answers are always figuring out the answers to all the questions. That's Mormonism had all the answers to all the big questions of life. But I mean, he readily admitted to Jonathan, like, we don't have a good answer for that. This is the best answer I can possibly give you, but it's not satisfactory. And that's kind of what his response was. So.
Yes, thank you. Welcome to the human condition. Next slide. Let's see. Okay, these are the many followers of Buddha and the different Hindi and Asian religions, and I didn't get heavily into it. Suhartha Gautama created a way of living that actively addressed the seeming rupture between the human world and the non-human universe. That's as far as I got in summarizing that. So we'll go on to the next slide. And this is When in Rome in Doubt, the Empire of Reason. And here are the Roman philosophers who added a lot of beautiful stuff to the group of doubtful thinking. And their philosophy covered some of the following ideas. I've changed them into questions, and I'd like a couple answers for each question because of time. But the first question was, is God simply man helping man? Does anyone have a theory about that? Bruce?
Well, I think, yeah, I would tend to agree because, I mean, like much of what I've kept from Mormon religion, I mean, I home teach all of my friends. I mean, it's, I'm checking on them. I help them with things, that whole community that I learned in Mormonism, God blessing people was just different people helping other people. And I think, biologically that's developed because as a cooperative creature, we've developed that, and I embrace that. So yeah, I kind of agree that that's man helping man is what God is.
Thank you. Kendall?
Yeah, so I've read a lot of Stephen Hassan, and the thought comes to mind. Again, my expertise is in the LDS Mormon religion, and so this applies to Joseph Smith, who was a white, straight male. But he posits that most religions conform to the needs and desires and goals of the founder. So, yeah, God is simply man helping a man, in this case, a specific man, in this case, Joseph Smith, get what he wants. And another insight from Stephen Hassan is the extent to which you fit the mold of the founder, you thrive in that belief system or religion, and the extent to which you diverge from the founder is the extent to which you suffer. So a homosexual black woman, for example, in the LDS church, you can imagine, would not thrive nearly as much as a white straight male. So that's my thought on that. I think God is a creation of man, but not only in the skeptical, cynical sense of Joseph Smith just getting what he wants and blaming God for his wants, but also in the sense that Britt Hartley goes over, which God is used to solve real problems, like we've already talked about, where it's like, hey, we have these phenomenon, we have these fears, let's use God to solve the answers to these fears and these phenomena.
Okay, thank you. Next question. Is it true that to know oneself at the deepest level is simultaneously to know God? And my answer to that would be yes. I've talked about feeling like God ignites inside myself when I have the forces come that my higher self thinks about. So it's not a God to anyone else, but anyone can have these feelings and anyone can act on these feelings. And I think it does lead us a little bit to know God. Whatever. So Bruce?
Yeah, I'm commenting too much, but yeah, I always was amazed because I hadn't done a lot of deep thinking when I distanced myself from the church. I still kind of believed the narrative, but I didn't want anything to do with it. So I spent 3 decades in that position. But it always amazed me that I still felt the spirit as the Mormon church defined it. It was when I thought of something and I got that warm feeling. It was usually helping my parents as they aged and stuff like that. And I would have the feeling of the spirit. But I had spent the last evening at a gay bathhouse, and I'm going like, okay, how does this work? I still hadn't kind of conceptualized that it was all bullshit. But just that whole spiritual thing, I guess it's called elevation, that happens. Yeah, God is in us. And I think that's a pretty good description.
Yes, thank you. I just totally agree. Next question. Oh, Rebecca, go ahead.
Sorry, I was struggling to raise my hand here. So, no, I totally agree with you on that, Bruce. And I think it's interesting when you're raised in the church, you're kind of encouraged not to know yourself, right? Your real self, your true self. You're supposed to feel the way they tell you to feel, and you kind of believe that is yourself. And then you step away, and I hear this from so many people, I'm sure all of you do too. And it's like, who am I? Right now, you're really asking that question. That's supposed to be the question that kicks off your Mormon experience, right? Who am I? Oh, well, we'll tell you who you are. And remember Man's Search for Happiness, that old film strip? Maybe you guys are too young to remember that. Beep, right? But I think when you step away, you're like, okay, so who am I really, right? And then you can really do that introspection without all the noise, which I believe they fill you with this noise, so you never get to know. And I for an example, there's a new youth activity up in Heber Valley at a camp where they take young women, young men, age that's 11 to 17, and they've created a nature path. Well, that sounds awesome. But it happens at night. And the first thing that you do is you write down a trial that you're going through or a sin that you want to try to overcome, right? Then they put noise canceling headphones on you. And this happens at night. And you walk down a trail and your ears are filled with conference quotes, voices of the prophets, voices of the apostles, and they have generators going and they have video of, scenes from Mormonism, right? And to me, that's so offensive, that they're trying to use the elevated emotion that you feel in nature to get in touch with yourself. Yet they've canceled you out, sensory deprivation. They're filling you with what they're telling you you are and how you should think, and then at the end you journal about, how wonderful the church is. So I think in the sense that now we are free of that and we're free to be able to understand ourselves, start to fathom ourselves. And in that way, maybe you are seeking a little of the divine and the elevation of oneself. But I don't know that it's necessarily possible when you're in a high demand, high control religion, because they tell you what God is. So
yes,
very disturbing activity. I'm sorry, I still get upset when I think about that, having headphones put on and walk down this path. I just
Yep. Okay, Cameron.
Yeah, that is a scary one, Rebecca. I remember hearing about that the other day. It was probably on your podcast, but I'm like, holy cow, that's freaked me out. So here's a question, because this is something I've been wrestling with, and because in Mormonism, we're taught that the thoughts that come into our head, are from the Holy Ghost. We should listen to them. We should follow them. And then, when you deconstruct the Holy Ghost, then you're learning more about how your mind works. And we have internal dialogue in our heads, and we have different parts of our brain that are more ancient and parts that are newer, prefrontal cortex versus like the amygdala and different things that are more reactionary. And yet I still hear a lot of post-Mormons / like deconstructed religious people talk about how important it is to trust our gut. And so this is kind of a question I'm asking you guys, because I wrestle with this a little bit as that skeptical person, because I do think it's important sometimes to trust our gut, and sometimes our gut can lead us in a good direction or tell us, hey, something's wrong here. Like I'm in a bad situation. But I also read a lot of history books about prejudice towards different groups, whether that's different races, LGBTQ. We are inherently biased people, and I'm skeptical of my own biases, and I try and question them when I get them. And if I just fully trusted my gut, I may avoid situations that would put me in uncomfortable positions because it's outside my normal comfort zone, and it may show bias towards different groups of people that I shouldn't be biased towards. And I have to push past those feelings. That would be trusting my gut, would be indulging those biases. And I don't want to do that. So how do you guys like manage that dichotomy of wanting to listen to your internal self? Mindfulness practice is important, I think, but also questioning the biases that your gut is going to tell you that you should avoid things.
Yeah, I think I think when the philosophers describe nature as unfeeling and destructive, and humans as feeling and compassionate, I think we're like nature a little bit in that we have the beauty and the majesty and also the cruelty. And yeah, I don't know the answer to that. We'll go with Stephen, just or Steph, just in case he's answering your question, Cameron, and then we'll do Melissa and Bruce.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes, and you're not Steph.
Okay.
Maybe you are.
It's well, it is. It's all confusing. Sorry. So I thought about this a lot because I like medical history. And so I think about, we used to bleed people in order to heal them, and there's all these things. And so I feel like for me, I'm trying to learn to trust my gut, and that's really hard. But it's always this caveat of trust your gut, but do no harm. I think if you're trusting your gut and it's doing harm to yourself or someone else or nature or like whatever it is, that's when you question it. So that's what I feel like.
Good answer. Thank you. Melissa?
So answering the question a little bit is, I just remember that we're just basically highly evolved monkeys, and we're still so much of our societal behavior, so much of our fundamental natures are based on animal instincts. And so how much can we really trust animal instincts and that kind of instinctual behavior and societal behaviors? So but I also wanted to talk about how frustrated I am on how much time I wasted trying to figure out if it was God talking to me or if it was myself, because they spent so much time when you're in the church trying to say, you have to be careful, is this God telling you something? And if it's against what the church says, then it's obviously not God telling you, because God would never tell you to do something that's against the church. And yet here I am thinking the church is wrong about this. So then it must be my gut that's telling me that, it must be my own self that's coming up with this answer because it's against what the church believes. And, when I stopped believing in the church, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, or even in God, then I'm like, there was no difference. There was never a difference. I wasted so much time and so much energy and so much of my mental headspace trying to figure out, is it God? Is it me? Is it God? Is it me? It was all me. It was always all me. And it's, yeah, a little frustrated that I wasted so much time doing that.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Melissa. Bruce?
Yeah, that the whole concept, some of the stuff that Cameron was talking about, years ago, I read the book Blink by Malcolm Gladwell. I think some of that has been fairly, some criticism of that, but the gut reaction, what is it, our lizard brain, something's off, I think can serve a really good purpose. But then, you balance it with your rational thought and your personal values and beliefs before you just go on gut reaction. And so that's where you think about it. I think it was in Blink. I live in Los Angeles, and there's the Getty Villa where there's the Greek and Roman statues and stuff, and they paid $10 million for one, and some experts were going like, did you pay for that? And we've authenticated it, but something's wrong. It was their gut feeling. And then I think microscopically they looked at it and they could see a circular mark that was made by a rotary grinder. And now it's a display of how they were duped, because they paid $10 million for this ancient statue. But a lot of the experts, they just had this gut feeling that something was off about it. And so I think that seems to be a good lizard brain thing that we've evolved with. But then you have to hit it up against our rational thought, our personal values, to see if it all fits together into what our choice is going to be. So that was just my thought.
Okay, thank you. Mylene?
Well, this is going to sound like I'm echoing what Bruce just said, but it turns out that when I was in graduate school, we had a discussion about this that went on for hours. And one of the things that we talked about was this idea of, we were talking about it in terms of management, how the best managers can seem to just walk around and pick out what's wrong with their industry or something like that and get it fixed immediately. But it wasn't a gut reaction. Basically, it was an informed thing. You had so much knowledge that you maybe not be able to put it together in your head and say, well, because of this and this and this and this and this, I see this thing that doesn't seem right, and this is the problem. And that's what the people at the Getty were doing, is they were basically using all this knowledge that they had gathered over all these years. And maybe they couldn't articulate it at the time, but there was something that was causing them to doubt. And I think that that's the way it is with most people. The best people and the best thinkers are not necessarily the ones that come up with some kind of method of articulating their position and convincing other people that it's true. They may be the ones that just walk around and they have gained enough knowledge that they know, they have this internal sense that something is wrong and they know when to follow up on it. But they're not this. I'm trying to make a distinction between them and the people that will just pander to an audience or suggest that they know something that they have no way of knowing. These people are, they're usually some kind of an expert in their field.
Yeah, thank you. That's really good observations. Seeking knowledge has its arguments, definitely. Bruce, I saw your comment in the chat, but then I lost it and couldn't find it.
Okay, you had asked.
Should we just go
me
on, or what? Should we go to the quiz? Because time is passing.
Yeah, we have the final quiz that kind of goes into the last very chapter of where we end up. That's fine, and I think we'll have discussion there, or our discussion is going very well now. So I was just kind of reminding you of where we are.
Yeah, I'd love another hour. Just that doesn't work. So let's go through the slides, Melissa, until we get close to the end. I'll tell you when to stop. And everybody can be sad as they look at the slides because we're not going to discuss them. Okay, forward. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. And next. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. And next slide. Onward. Onward.
And I will say that these will all be posted. I mean, this whole video will be posted on our The Good Book Club for Post-Mormons YouTube channel, so we can revisit it, pause, kind of talk amongst ourselves, think about it. So it's not over. There's just so much content.
Yes. And I might post my original outline on the book club Facebook site.
That would be great.
It has so many beautiful quotations in it. And so if anyone wants to get that from the Facebook site, you could. So we're going to go on with the survey. And this time, if you really do write down somewhere your answers, it'll make more sense at the end. So go ahead, Bruce.
Okay, so these are going to be the questions off of page. Let's see what page here. Page 445. And divisions of her definitions. And from my experience last time, all 8 questions will be in a row. And you can just kind of pick up where you think you fall. And let me just start this. Okay. Number one, do you accept the stories and rituals and rules of your religion as true? And the second one is, do you believe all religions are equally true and relate to a thinking and creative force, or related to a thinking and creative force? Or three, do you interpret the universe as having some force that unites life and perhaps gives it meaning? Number four, do you believe that we can know anything about anything? And you believe knowledge is possible, but are not sure how? Six is, do you believe the universe is a natural phenomenon and we should celebrate our humanity in ritual and allegory of traditional religion? Do you think the universe is a natural phenomenon and that religion adds more bad than good? And are you open to the idea that you do not know everything? And just kind of see where you kind of end up in these divisions of doubt. So we've had 5 of the 12 people that can vote. Sadly, I can't vote because I'm the host.
And we're still waiting on the voting.
Yeah, we've had 6 of the 12 people vote. We'll wait another minute. And anybody who wants to come in, and then we can look at the results. Okay, so we have 8 of the 12 so far. So we're just, people are getting through the list because it's 8 questions.
While we're waiting, we'll hear Gretchen.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. So one of those questions sparked a book recommendation. I just read a book by the daughter of Carl Sagan. It's called For Small Creatures Such as We. And she is, I don't know if you guys have talked about it,
We
but
read it in the book club 2 years ago. It was an absolute favorite. Yep,
Lovely.
absolute favorite. Can't recommend it more. I agree.
But
Fabulous.
tell
Well, I
us
won't go over
about
it,
it
but I did.
because not everybody was there.
Oh, well, I loved it because it was talking about how to bring ritual and celebrations into a secular, an atheistic or a secular worldview, and like what things to celebrate and how you can keep these kind of like the movement of the seasons and the movement of the different events that happen in your life and how you can celebrate them without having to turn to religion or God. It was really a lovely, lovely book.
Yeah, Rebecca, didn't we put a thing up on
We had a
Facebook on
spreadsheet for quite a while.
how people created those milestone celebrations outside of religion? Yeah, this was a big topic 2 or 3 years ago.
I think maybe it was 3 years ago, but yeah, everybody was struggling with, what do I do? How do I mark this or that or this? And I loved it because it taught me that I already have a lot of little rituals that I didn't really think of as rituals, but they are. And now they're even more meaningful that I recognize it. But yes, everybody, for small creatures such as we, it's incredible. So thanks for bringing that up, Gretchen. It's a great one.
Yeah, no. And, I found the belief in that, Thanksgiving, a harvest festival, the Scandinavians do midsummer, and go like, oh, should I just have these, seasonal change and have a party or a dinner with friends and just have those? Okay, we have everyone voted. So I'm going to share the results now and we'll see. Okay, so nobody thought, do you accept the stories and rituals and rules of your religion as true? Everybody said no. Do you believe all religions are equally true and relate to a thinking and creative force? Everybody said no. Okay, now here, do you interpret the universe as having some force that unites life and perhaps gives it meaning? There we were 50-50 on that, which I think is interesting. Or do you believe that we can know anything about anything? And 58% yes, 42% no. Now, 5, do you believe knowledge is possible but are not sure how? 83% believe knowledge is possible but not sure how, and 17% no. 6, do you believe the universe is a natural phenomenon and we should celebrate our humanity in ritual and allegory of traditional religion? There again, 50-50. 7, do you think the universe is a natural phenomenon that religion adds more bad than good? And there again, we were split 50-50. Are you open to the idea that you do not know everything? And then unanimously, 100% of the people said yes. Okay, so I'm stopping sharing.
Okay, so you didn't have the titles. Can you put that back up by any chance?
But didn't we have
the survey? The survey?
We have a slide.
Do we?
Don't we?
Okay.
Didn't we create a slide of all those
We created a slide, but I don't have it, but I have the book, so I can answer it. But it'd be more helpful if the screen.
Okay, so can you see the screen now?
Yes. Okay, on the first, if none of us are sectarians, because the answer to the first is a sectarian. On the second, no one answered, and so none of us are one of many religionists. On the third, let's get down there. The third.
Yeah, you need to scroll down.
Do you interpret the universe as having some force that unites life and perhaps gives us meaning? Well, if you were yes to that, you are a meaning and science spiritualist. And I think I am one of those. 4, you don't believe that you can know anything. That makes you a skeptic. And 5, do you believe knowledge is possible but not sure how to find it? That is the perplexed. And onward, 6, do you believe the universe is a natural phenomenon and we should celebrate our humanity? Okay, a ritualist. And 7 is, do you think the universe is a natural phenomenon and that religion adds more bad than good? Then you are a science secularist. And hopefully that's all, because that's all the titles I have.
8. Are you open to the idea that you do not know everything?
Yes.
And that's
is that the science secularist? That's probably the science secularist, and then the religion adds more than good is on the
is the ritualist.
No, it's not the ritualist. No? Okay, it's the science secularist. I had them opposite.
Okay.
Okay, I wish I had it written down, but I don't quite have what you are at the end, but we'll say, let's find our own term.
Okay, so
not know anything. You're a cynic. Let's call you cynics.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. Okay, well, this is the end, except for I want to do the this quotation, and that is that the earliest doubt on historical record was 2,600 years ago, which makes doubt older than most religions. Faith can be a wonderful thing, but it is not the only wonderful thing. Doubt has been just as vibrant in its prescriptions for a good life and just as passionate for truth. By many standards, it has had a tremendous success. And so the way we should greet each other is great doubt, great awakening. The end.
Okay.
I love that.
I've got a general question for people. A lot of this doubters were either rejected from their communities or killed.
Yeah.
I think we've all had some aspect of that in our life as becoming doubters of Mormonism. I find my doubt is much easier because I don't live in the Morador. I live in Southern California. I very seldom ever come across Mormons. I mean, there's 2 or 3 ward buildings in my city but I don't see much activity. There's even an institute across from Pasadena City College. I've never seen the lights on or anything going on there. And just I'm interested in what consequences have you guys experienced for being doubters?
I will say very quickly, because I can't raise my hand, that as soon as you start to express your doubt, especially here in Utah, you're usually met with a wall of people that affirm their belief to you, right? That's just kind of how it is. It's a counter reaction. As soon as you mention anything, and this can happen online or in person, you are inundated with people that are very sure in their belief and think perhaps that they can do something to, help you with your doubt if they just tell you over and over again what they believe. I believe it, therefore you need to believe it. It's interesting. And that's what they say at the end. You can't, don't Bible bash. You can't logic somebody out of it. Just bear your testimony. So it's just two different points of view. You very quickly learn, especially here in Utah, just probably don't bring it up, right? Which is ironic to say, because here we have a book club and everybody's online. But yeah, you're right, Bruce. The lights are definitely on here in Utah.
Yeah.
Okay, Jeffrey.
Yeah, when I was growing up in California, the view was doubting was fine as long as you didn't present that as the church teaching. And, I think I've said this before, but my father used to say there's a difference between orthodoxy and orthopraxy, and you can be a member if you're orthoprax. Because I was similar to Rebecca in the sense that I never really thought the doctrine made any sense. Even I just thought it was nonsensical, even from the time I was 16 or 17. And my father would say, it's not a problem as long as you follow the rules. And the rules and the religion at the time was pretty, I thought it was pretty good. Dances and road shows, and there's a high social component, and we pretended to study things, and so I mean it was it was a good experience. And then I went to BYU, and it was like getting hit in the face with a cold shower, because I remember going to a philosophy professor asking him some questions, and he just shut me down. He's like, you don't question these things. And I had another professor tell me in the honors program, you're making things too complex. And I said, I'm not making things too complex. I'm just asking questions. So I mean, now one of the things I think is happened, or it seems to have happened, just based on talking to my brothers who are still in, is that this notion of the Utah version of black and white, probably via social media, has just gone everywhere. I mean, because I never dreamed people would get excommunicated for posting on Facebook, for example, but that seems to be the case now. So I think that makes it different. And the other thing, and this is I was driving, so I couldn't answer, but it was interesting when I used to think that the religion was net positive, and it was actually my daughter in her early 20s that got me to understand the negative. So it's net positive if you're white, straight, reasonably well educated, moderately wealthy. But if you're anything else, like just a woman, and it took my wife and my daughter to say, look, this is not a positive environment. And so, the information matters as well.
Thank you.
Good points.
Stephen. You'll need to unmute.
Hello. Yes, sorry. Hello. Sorry I'm late to the party. I missed the time, but I'm glad that I was able to join in later. I would say that one of the biggest pieces for me in whether it's an issue leaving or not has been the circles of association and society that I'm in. For example, seeing family having doubts makes it a lot safer space. Seeing that, hey, there are other people that I know who are seeing things the same way that I'm seeing this. That makes it a lot easier to confront and deal with, especially being in Utah. I'm definitely I've heard the term Mormondor. I prefer the term Book of Mormon belt. I don't know why that never took off, because you've got the Bible Belt, in the South. I always liked the Book of Mormon belt. Anyway, but yeah, I think that it really is a function of your social circles. So professionally, I work in medicine, and medical providers are naturally doubters. We're very skeptical. We're always wondering whether the diagnosis is accurate or not. We're always wondering whether our current treatments are accurate or not, because all of us have experiences and examples of how, if you're in medicine long enough, the standard of care when you were in school ceases to be the standard of care 20 years later. And it can really be easy to put on a skeptical hat and look at the world through those eyes. So, but I've really appreciated the family that okay, more okay, nice. Sorry, I just saw that chat. But yeah, I think that it's been easier for me personally, just because I've had other family members who are questioning, and that number builds by the day. Actually, I see more and more people having questions and concerns, and so it's nice to see family members, friends who you can kind of relate to, like this group.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Stephen, are we related?
We are.
Hi.
Hi.
It's thrilling to see you. Thank you.
Yeah, you too.
Okay, I think we're turning it over. Thank you, everyone, for such a good discussion.
Oh, that was so good, Luann. You always do such an
Yes.
amazing job. And it was a rough book, that's for sure. I mean, not rough in the sense of it wasn't wonderful and enriching, but it was long. There was a lot to cover, and you did a great job of pulling out the things that were important and helping us have a really meaningful discussion. So thank you. It was great. So,
Thank you.
all right, we will wrap up, but everybody, if you can stay, because after we go through our last couple slides, we turn off the camera and we just hang out and we talk for anybody that wants to, for, half an hour, 40 minutes, whatever we want. I just wanted one more time, put the list up in case anybody wants to take a picture. This will start in September. So
I'm putting it up in 3 separate chats, because you're only allowed 1,000 characters per chat.
Yep, that's right. But yeah, there were just a number of really excellent books that came out this year, and some from the past. And so if you want to just we'll wait till the chat pops off, and then take a picture. Like I said, I'll set it out via email and all different things. And again, if anything grabs you and you want to be a presenter, Luann makes it look easy, right? And we love our different presenters, because everybody has their own style and their way that they do it. So it's different every time, and it's always so perfectly suited to the book. So yeah, just get a hold of us somehow, put it in the chat, email, Facebook, just let us know if there's any book that grabs you and you would like to be the discussion leader. So that's exciting. And of course, our book, I think our next slide is next. If you guys joined us late, Yvonne is our discussion leader, and she gave a little preview at the beginning because she was on a road trip, like a lot of people are. But this is going to be fantastic. It's a science book. She did mention there's audio, of course, but there's such funny little cartoons all through the book that if you listen, maybe follow along with the cartoons, or just go old school and read by the pool, right? So, but this will be good. And this will be on August 10th, Sunday at 11 a.m. And like I said, Yvonne is our discussion leader, and that will end our 2024-2025 season. I can't believe it. And then those other books will start. Just quickly on the radar for everybody, we have the Good Book Club podcast, which is audio. You can listen to past episodes or meetings anywhere you find your audio podcast. We have the video version on the Good Book Club for Post-Mormons. You can catch up on any past meeting that you were not able to attend. They're so good. We have the Good Media Club on Facebook, where we just kind of put on things that we find going on in Mormon media, just, information, this series or this came out. And of course, Landon and I have Mormonish podcast, where we talk about a lot of the topics we do in book club, and often have book club members on as guests. So those are fun to check out if you'd like to. If this is your first time joining us and you'd like to know how to kind of officially join, you can find us on Facebook. That's our logo there. Instagram, and you can just request to join. If you're not so much into social media, which more and more people are like, I don't do that anymore. I don't blame you. You can just send us an email at thegoodbookclub@mail.com, not Gmail, but mail. And we'll send you links and information, book lists through that avenue. If you do email us, sometimes it goes to spam, so check it because we will always answer. And that's how you can reach us. So thank you again, Luann. Honestly, that was absolutely incredible. And I think you've given us so much to think about just, throughout the next month as we read the next book. Just, I love the way you think and the way that you present, and it's just been incredible. So we'll say goodbye for now from the Good Book Club till next month. Thanks, everybody.